All right, I'm going to go ahead and get folks checked in. So it looks like we have Holly. I assume this is Jason and Holly Gundrum. If you could go ahead and take yourself off mute, confirm that those are your names and who you're representing here today.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, it's us.
Okay.
And we also have Joe Zhang, our builder, with us.
Okay. Great. And you all are the applicants on this project, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Welcome. Let's see, we have, iPad Bora. Two people, like they're in a dining room or a kitchen. If you could unmute.
Yes, we are. This is Bora, and this is my wife, Marta Tashan.
Okay, if you could each give me your full names.
My name is, first name is Bora, B as in boy, O-R-A, and last name is Tashan, T as in Tom, A-S-H-A-N.
Okay, great.
And my first name is Marta, M-A-R-T-A, same last name.
Okay, great. And who are you two representing here today?
We're the property next door,
Okay.
1038.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Chad Puckett.
Hello, I'm Chad. I'm the architect for the project.
Okay, great. Welcome. And then Mr. Vogel, you with us?
Hey, Mr. Turkey. Hello. My name is Steve Vogel, and I am here for the Mount Adams Civic Association.
Great. Welcome, Steve. Glad you could make it. I'm sorry, to the Gundrums. Did you say that there was a builder that you also had there?
Yes, Joe Zhang, there he is.
Okay, and that's Joe and Zhang.
Zhang, Z-A-N-G.
Okay, got it. All right. Fantastic. On the applicant team, are you expecting anyone else to join us here today, or are you ready to proceed?
We're ready to proceed.
Okay, great. So I need to read through our hearing script. This basically we'll just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump into it. So this is the May 17th, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey again, and I'll be presiding over the hearing. The case before us is case number ZH20230052. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from, we will then move to the public, who will have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. If the applicant is represented by an attorney, the applicant's attorney may cross-examine any person who has testified at this hearing. I will give Wes Menzel, our zoning plans examiner, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, I will give the Gundrums and Mr. Zhang and Mr. Puckett an opportunity to tell me about the project, why they think I should grant the relief that's requested. You all can orient that presentation however you'd like. One of you can speak, all of you can speak. It's really up to you. Did you have a question, Mr. Puckett?
Oh, no, I'll could speak first to describe the project.
Sure. Okay, great. And so after you all have finished with your presentations, I'll then go over to the public. That will be Mr. Vogel and the Boras. Give them each an opportunity to weigh in on this. I'll go to Wes Menzel, the zoning plans examiner who's with us, allow him to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. I'll then go back to the applicants and allow them to respond to anything that's been said from the public or from Wes and to make any closing statements. And then we will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there is some defect with the tech that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. If you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing here today, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you're not sure if you're going to testify, I can swear you in later, but if you know that you'd like to provide some testimony, I'd like to collectively swear in all those people right now. So if that's you, if you can unmute, I need everyone to answer out loud and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I
Yes.
do.
I do.
Okay, great. So to the boards, we'll need you guys to unmute, but we can do that if and when you decide you want to testify. Okay, let's go ahead. Mr. Puckett, you said you'd like to start, so the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today and taking time to review our project, and also thank Wes and Zoning for helping review this project in the early stages and looking at all the zoning requirements required for this project. We're intending to replace the existing two-story structure that was built in 1875 with a new single-family residence. We were able to do some averaging for the setbacks for the property and to propose to build a new residence within those setbacks. And we were also able to build a new proposed residence within the zoning height requirements of the zoning envelope. The one issue that we do need relief from was the cut and fill not to exceed 8 foot. And particularly on this site, as it's a little odd, as it has a low elevation on the street side, and it raises up to a higher elevation in the rear yard. So the existing building almost, I did a calculation about 12.5 feet of cut and fill. It does, the existing residence has a basement underneath it, which we're proposing to eliminate that in the proposed residence so that we'll have a slab on grade construction. But at the rear of the house where the grade rises, we do need to relocate the existing build a new retaining wall and relocate some of the existing retaining walls that are on the back east and west sides of the property. So, and the primary retaining wall will be the back of the house, the foundation wall of the back of the house. So it will be the largest expanse across the back. And then on the neighboring properties, we have 2 Allen block type retaining walls. And we were proposing those since they needed the least amount of equipment and excavation to build. So as we can excavate back onto our property, we can stack the walls away and then backfill on our subject property and not to be needing to access on the neighboring property. We are also proposing the new residence to be 3 feet away from the 1038 St. Gregory property, just to allow for maintenance purposes. Currently, the existing building is built right up to their property line. So even during demolition, care is going to have to be taken to fold the building inward upon itself, and even hand demolition done on some of the retaining walls on the towards 1032 St. Gregory. I'm glancing over my drawings if everyone wants to know what I'm looking at. And since there is an existing basement under the existing house, we have to phase this demolition out a little bit, where the primary framing of the house can be taken down, but we'll have to backfill immediately into that basement opening. And then during that time, the geotechnical engineer will be able to make the determination if we can remove the existing foundations or if they can stay. So some of those existing foundations on the 1038 along that property might be able to just stay there in place since they're not affected by the new house, and will help support the existing sidewalks along that property. But we will have a geotech Pat Nall with Alt and Witzig engineers will be doing special inspections on this entire project. And then I just want to note the 2 Allen block walls on the back of the project. There is a smaller one on the west side. I think it's about 3.5 feet of exposure. And then on the east side, on the 1032 neighboring property, it starts at about 8'4", and then it gradually decreases in height as the grade tapers uphill. And so we are having special inspections with the city. So once, if this is approved, we'll turn these drawings in for a permit at the city. And then that's when we'll fill out all the special inspections for third-party inspections during construction for the geotechnical engineering, framing, steel framing. So all these will be inspected by third parties during construction to just, to comply with, Hillside recommendations and the building department recommendations. So we haven't performed a full geotechnical report yet because the house has to be demolished first. So once it's demolished, they are able to get equipment in to do test borings to finalize the foundations for the house. So once we figure out exactly what we're dealing with underneath there, we might be able to do typical spread footings or pier footings, and even pier footings along the back of the house might be needed. So, but our geotechnical report will provide that report to the city once the house is demolished and they can get equipment on there. I think that is all that my current presentation will state, but I can answer any questions as we move on with the project.
Yeah, sure. Could you talk some more about the specific relief, the excavation and fill? If you're not retaining the basement, help me understand why that cut fill relief is necessary.
Oh, if you are you able to look at the drawings by any chance? It's on sheet A 1.0. There's a
You can also share your screen if you'd like. I don't know if you have it up on your computer.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I have.
That way you can control the cursor and sort of point stuff out. So
I have the PDF pulled up. Let's see. Oh, I might have to pull it over here. Okay, hold on just a second. I had to switch it on a second monitor here.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is on one of our architectural drawings on on our site plan and zoning sheet. You can see here there's a dotted line representing the existing residence. So we'll be removing the existing residence, which has a basement. It's about 6 feet, a 6 foot deep basement. So we're planning on removing that basement and then filling that in. I would say approximately about 3 feet of fill before a structural slab for the garage will be installed over it. So the relief is what we're looking for is at the rear of the house. There's approximately 11'8" for the back portion of the house is the height. And I think when Wes calculated, he grabbed a couple, like 1.5 feet or so for this little wall in the backyard. So we were just calculating that together as 13 foot overall, counting the small retaining wall at the back porch.
And so, yeah, how tall is the retaining wall or walls?
Let me zoom out. The actual retaining walls, we have 2 of them. I'm going to jump up to our site plan sheet. We have one on the west side here. We have one here. And then we have one on the east side here at the back of the property. And so the one on the west side is a shorter wall. Its maximum height is 3'4".
Okay.
Where it meets the house, it's 3'4". And then as it turns, since the grade steps up, the height of the wall diminishes. And then on the east side of the house, there's a taller wall, which is 8'4" in its maximum height as it meets the house. And then as it goes uphill, it also diminishes in height as well.
Okay. All right.
There's a lot going on. It's kind of a complex little.
Could you go back to the last slide, the side section?
There, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's excavation there at the rear, or is that fill?
Shaded area of excavation, yes. So that would be, you can see the existing, retaining wall at the back of the house. So we would be excavating that portion there for the rear base or the rear first floor of the house. Yes, like the garage is on the first floor. And then there's a patio off the second floor of the house, which is excavated out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. And so will that be one single cut back there at 11 feet?
Yes, at the back where they would need to excavate for the back of the house, that would have to be a cut right where the house is. So they probably wouldn't cut where the retaining walls are, until that back wall is in. Just for accessibility and constructability, yeah.
Sure. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Is there anything else, Mr. Puckett, you want to provide before we move on?
Not that I can think of, but I can answer any questions.
Okay, great. Jason, Holly, or Joe, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, not at this point. We'll just see what the other questions are.
Okay, thank you. Did the boards want to provide any testimony or have any questions?
Okay.
If you do, I'll have to get you sworn in.
Oh, yes.
So if you could raise your right hand. Guys want to both get sworn in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
No, the only question that we had, just because, there'll be a lot going on, is there any time frame at all? Start and how long it might last?
This is Holly. I can answer. We are planning on looking to excavate the current building towards the end of this year, maybe late fall, and then start, right in with the building at that point, with the hopes of having it finished in spring of 2025, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, just a quick question that came up to me. Now, the existing house is right on the property line, right, with the 1038, and there's a concrete patio there. So Mr. Puckett said it's going to be set back 3 foot away from that line. So is that going to be the same level, or do we have to build some sort of a barrier if it's going to be down to the side of the new house?
I can answer that. It's going to follow the same profile as your sidewalk.
Okay.
So there won't be a step there until we come out into our driveway. It's almost like it currently does. There's a drop there.
Mhm.
So where our driveway drops, there will be a drop, but along the whole run of the side of the house, there will be a sidewalk there. And we have a curb as well, so that any rainwater on this property is collected on our side and filtered down to the front driveway and comes down the front side.
Just a curious question. So that's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you to the boards for being here, for your questions. Going to go ahead to Mr. Vogel. Mr. Vogel, if you could unmute. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Couple questions for Mr. Puckett. But you probably, Mr. Puckett, received a notice maybe from Wes this morning about the question that we raised, the Civic Association, because there was just a brief reference to the Allen block walls, and we could not see from the plans, and there was no discussion about that, where they were low. So you responded to that. Those are going to be, you're proposing those to be on the side, is that right? Where on the side would that be?
Oh wait, am I still sharing my screen?
You are not.
No.
Oh, okay. They're on it is at the back of the house on the left and right sides of the house.
Well, what about that retaining wall then on the east side? Where do I'm just trying to understand
The
what
stone wall.
the retaining wall would be an L shape that would define the corner of the building. That's not correct, is it?
Well, it doesn't define the corner of the building. The building is about 4 feet away from the property line. So we're making extending the retaining wall from the building to the property line, towards the east, and then returning the retaining wall towards the north as it steps down with the grade there. So the neighboring property at 1032 is several feet below this property.
So again, where are those? Where are the gravity retaining walls going to go? If you could go to back to your AO.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can share my screen here. Okay. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. It's at the back here. Oh, can I draw? I can draw, I think. There's one across here. And then
Now that's where you're retaining, that's where the taller retaining wall is, isn't that right?
that's correct. Yeah, the taller one's there, and then the shorter one is over here on this side. Now, currently, there's stacked stone walls there. You can kind of see the dotted line is the demolished. There's a staircase. It's about 5.5, 6 feet tall, that stacked stone wall on the back of our property. And then it returns. It's kind of odd. There's actually a knob of earth that comes out where this house is. And then, the neighboring house here at 1032 is, 8, 9 feet lower, where the grade flushes out in the back.
In looking at this drawing, though, I mean, I see towards the top, almost up towards the rear setback line, you have a reference in there, a proposed Allen block retaining wall, and then it's pointing. I mean, so you're not just doing it on the side. You have one parallel to the rear elevation of the house.
Yeah. Yes, and that's it's almost like a landscape wall. It's about 2 feet high. And it's really to be able to level out this patio so I can slope the patio away from the building. And then I can get these grades coming around, and we're putting yard drains in both sides, on the left and right side. So we're trying to get everything to slip, that's coming on the backyard to get into these yard drains. And then we can drain them out away from the house. So that's really like I call those like a landscape wall, but
okay, so from your professional position, you're saying that is not a retaining wall that's exerting lateral support against the hillside behind.
Yeah, we could get by without that retaining wall. I was just trying to have it work a little bit easier, where we didn't have to go up the hills and disturb the hillside as much. By putting this wall in, we can kind of control the flow of water, rainwater around it to get to these drains.
In the preliminary geotech report, it didn't. I confess that it was through pretty quickly, but I didn't see it addressing the retaining wall systems at all. I mean, they can anticipate now, he knows the conditions that are exposed. And of course, they have worked on the hillside a number of times, excuse me. But there's nothing in the record about, the satisfactory nature of the retaining walls here.
Well, I think the intention is that when they're able to demolish the house so he could do the test borings, he would present his full geotechnical report at that time. And that's what he intends to do to apply for the building permit. So
there would be, when you anticipate now, and would that be the case that we would see that then? That
oh yes, I mean it would be on
the applicants would ensure that there's or a civil engineer satisfied retaining wall systems.
Oh yes, yeah, we would have that on public record that there's we have to provide a full geotechnical report, as even the footings we still need those geotech report to design the footings for the building. So it's kind of a catch-22 where we can't design it until we take the house down to do the test borings to design that. So once they are able to demolish the house and do the test borings, then he can provide his final geotechnical report with all those walls. So we'd be happy to share the report with anybody.
But again, I'm obviously just asking that to be in the record here, because I mean, I know that you will know the histories of some of these things around this area. The other aspect is, again, just asking, but what happens if when you expose the foundations here and that you decide that in fact you need to radically readdress the foundation plan?
Well, I mean
that's
happens on sometimes some of these projects where you have
that's why I'm asking the question. So
150-year-old structures that are hidden in hidden conditions. When you're excavating, we find cisterns and wells and all kinds of drain lines and stuff like that. So the key is the requirement is that we have a structural engineer and a geotechnical engineer that are involved in the project while it's under construction. So during, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but during the city requires what they call special inspection. And it's a form, it's a stamped by the engineer of record who has to perform the inspections and provide a timetable, and that he's inspecting this as it's being demolished and it's being built. So we're just not getting some guy out with a backhoe and just start digging away. So there does have to be an engineer on site.
I understand that, but again, this is just a what if question. But if you have a variance application inside for that northeast retaining wall, because the excavation and height of the wall exceeds the 8 feet cumulative, would you anticipate? I mean, there would be a concern if additional excavations of similar sizes were required once you would be revising the foundation plan to account for things that you unexpectedly discovered.
Yes, we would have to redraw our plans and then resubmit for an engineering change. So that would be run through zoning again and the building permit process.
Yeah, Mr. Vogel, I'll jump on there too. Any approval of this application would need to meet all the specification. Well, any project moving forward would need to meet all of the specifications in the site plans and application materials. So if those were to change in any material way, they would need to come back through the zoning process.
Thank you.
David?
Yeah, I just ask one last question, and that's for
Sure.
the bedrooms. Are you building this house for your own occupation?
Yes, we plan to live there.
Well, thank you. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Trickey, I have no other questions.
Okay, Mr. Vogel, does the Civic Association have then any position on the project in light of any of the information received today?
Well, I just wanted to ask one further question again. With the, as I was taking notes, the full extent of that retaining wall is now going to be a wall of 11.8 feet in height, or there was already an excavation below that, correct? That wall was fitting into some of the existing foundation, Mr. Puckett?
Let me go
It's
back
just a
to
question.
which wall?
The northeast one, the one on the other side from the bores.
I mean, it will be a new wall that's beyond that existing wall at the back of the house. Is that the one you're talking about?
But it's sitting in part of the base. It's sitting in an excavated, part of it would be in an excavated area already.
No, it won't. It will be unexcavated where the new wall goes.
So it's beyond the existing foundation of
Correct.
the current
Yeah,
house.
it's about 10 feet beyond the existing foundation.
And so your excavation is from the grade now. How far down are you excavating then for that?
Well, just at the rear of the proposed house, it would be 11 foot 8 inches at the back of the proposed house.
Is that the amount of the excavation, or is that the height of the wall itself that you would build?
I think there's another 1.5 feet just behind that, right? The total request is for 13 feet cumulative.
Correct. And
So
then
so are we looking at a variance then of 5 feet something? Is that correct?
for 5 feet.
5 feet.
Yes. So there's my question. You have the 8 feet statutorily, and you're going 5 feet above that.
Yeah.
On the basis, Turkey, what has been testified here, we have no objection to this application.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Vogel. Thanks for your testimony and your questions. All right, Wes, I know you were trying to jump in there for a minute, but why don't you go ahead and if you have any testimony.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify Mr. Vogel's question about like any changes to the design plan after the geotech gets involved, more detailed. So if there are changes that are submitted, we would review them to determine if they're quote unquote not substantial or if they are substantial. So not substantial changes would be allowed to be approved as part of the permit, originally applied for or eventually applied for. But if there are substantial changes that change the context and the excavations and things like that, then we may have to come back to another hearing. But that's kind of how that's handled, or an engineering change is for minor things. So I just want to clarify that. As far as the cut and fill, like we measure the number, we calculate that based on the overall change from the, in this case, the rear to the front. So that's the approximately existing grade of 770 at the beginning point down to 757, which is the garage slab. So that's about a 13-foot cut, quote unquote. And then as Chad has shown in the drawings, the largest direct cut in any one location is the 11-foot 8-inch cut at the back of the facade of the new house. And the retaining wall would be, I think 3 feet less than that approximately. That wall is 8 feet 4 inches, but I didn't in our review, I'm not quite worried about the 4-inch, it's kind of a rounding thing there. So I consider that conforming on the retaining wall height. And the other two walls are 3 feet and 2 feet in height. As far as the excavation, this scenario actually has a lot less volume of excavation than a lot of houses that are built because they're using existing basement of the previous house, because the foundation and footprint of the new house overlap with the existing house, substantially, except for in the rear. There's like, I think Chad said it was like 8 or 10 feet of that shaded area, back to front. And then I'm not sure what the width is on that, but that is a rather small amount of excavation for this project because of that overlapping scenario. And as I noted, the project is conforming for height and conforming for all the setbacks. So they're actually placing the new house in the center of the lot, with a 3 or 4 foot setback on each side. So that kind of creates a better situation for the abutting homeowners. And I think that the yard drains in the rear, I don't know how the drainage works now, but I think that having these yard drains in the rear will help alleviate some of the pressure on the hillside with water drainage being flowing through, collected and then flowing through instead of having to push through the soil. I'm not a geotech engineer, but that is a kind of a helpful concept, I think, in that manner. So I just wanted to clarify and outline a few of those comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Wes. Okay, Mr. Puckett, anything you'd like to add either in response to any of the questions or testimony from the public and from Wes or anything else?
I can't think of anything unless there's any more questions.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that I have any more questions right now. So if there's anything you'd like to say in closing, you can do that now, or we can wrap it up.
I'm okay. Yeah, I think I've made all my comments unless
Cool.
Someone has a question. Thanks.
Got it. All right,
Thanks
we'll
for
leave
your
it at that. Okay, I'm going to just spend a little bit more time with these drawings. As I said at the beginning of the hearing, I will have a decision to you within 2 weeks. What I do is I put that decision, it's a written decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all will have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. If you have any questions in the meantime, happy to answer those. I can't accept new testimony or evidence. Whatever is in the record now is a complete record that I have to review, but I can't answer procedural questions and things like that. So if you have any of those, I'm happy to answer those. Or if you just like a status update on the decision, I'm also happy to provide that to you as well. So just feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like to do that. Okay, if there's no further questions right now, we will go ahead and leave it at that. I want to thank everyone again for your time and your testimony.